Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is religion in public life. And of course, we have with us to talk about religion and public life, Dr. LBaldwin. Dr. LBaldwin is in the Department of Religious Studies at Vanderbilt University. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
And of course, Dr. Baldwin, to talk about the role of religion in public life, I think is to simply talk about a very, very important topic today, because if there's anything that is important in American public life today, it certainly has to do with war and religions and other things. And so let's have you to not only talk about that, but let's start off by having you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the other things that were important in your life. And at the same time, Dr. Baldwin, remembering that you've been with us at least 15 times prior to this, but there might be somebody who might not know Dr. Lewis V. Baldwin.
That's
let's talk about it from that
perspective.
perspective.
I grew up in a little town called Camden, Alabama, the Black Belt, Wilcox County. I finished high school there in 1967, Camden Academy High School. I then matriculated at Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama. And I received a BA in history in 1971 from Talladega. And from there, I went to Crozer Theological Seminary, which by 1971 had relocated, had moved rather from Chester, Pennsylvania to Rochester, New York. And I received the M.A. in Black Church Studies in 1973, the M.Div. or the Master of Divinity in Theology, 1975. And from there to Northwestern University, where I pursued the PhD in the history of religions, receiving that particular degree in 1980. And I have deep roots in the church, and much of my life has been devoted to teaching, as you well know, and also scholarship on the church and the role of the church in public life, which is the topic that we are dealing with today.
Very good. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, let's look at the role of the church in public life. And I think the best way to do that is to simply allow you as an historian, really, and might we also add that a very, very eminent historian, as is reflected in your other works.
Thank you.
Let's look at it from an historical point of view and talk about the importance of religion with the establishment of the 13 original North American colonies. From that point on to move forward.
Yeah, I think it's important to place this whole phenomenon in historical context. When the Puritans came to this country in the 1600s, they were very interested in establishing what we call holy commonwealths. That is, to establish societies based on the Bible, scriptural proclamations as they saw it. But as time passed, there were those who felt that there should be a separation between religion and politics, between religion and government, religion and the state. So the founding fathers in the 1700s, the late 1700s, of course, wrote into the Constitution the principle of voluntarism, which of course separates church and state. But there were always those who felt that church and the state should be coextensive, that they should be extensions of each other. So that kind of debate occurred very early in our history between those who felt that society should be established on the basis of Scripture, and those who felt that religion is something that should be relegated to the private or the personal sphere, and that it should have nothing to do with public life. As it turned out, and I think this was quite wise on the part of our founding fathers, was to establish this principle of separation of church and state, so that the government would not have a role in coercing people to embrace a particular religion, or that government support for religion would be rejected. So we're dealing with that same issue now. It's been a historic phenomenon, as I said. Today we're talking about, we're debating, a lot of us, the role of religion in the public arena. Should religion have a role in public life, or is it something that's private, or should be relegated to the private sphere?
Very good. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, what we'd like to do, and we're going to take a break within the next 45 seconds. When we come back, let's have you not only to continue that, but to bring in some of those elements that you find historically that can support your point of view here. And of course, it is not only your point of view. I think that this is the normal point of view in which we see religion within the United States. I think we've got this sort of ambivalence toward it. Some people believe that we ought to be involved in it. Others believe that there ought not to be any involvement of the government, and et cetera.
Yes.
And so let's have you to sort of expand upon that particular point of view when we come back. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The topic is the